Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to our rendition of the best Christmas pageant ever. And I'm Rebecca, the director of Firefly, and thank you. And I just want to say thank you to all the parents and the families who trust us with your kids. We love having them and being in community with them. They're all amazing and wonderful, as you are about to see. And I'm going to welcome Pastor Kate up to the mic.
My name is Pastor Kate, and I am really happy to get to help out with Firefly some. And I was saying to the kids before this started that for the whole way through, we said, this is for your parents and they love you. So there's just no way they're not going to be thrilled with what you do, which means a lot of these kids took big risks at the beginning. They were like, I don't want to be in it. Okay, I'll be in it, but I don't want to talk. Okay, I'll be in it, but I don't want to sing. And now they're asking for solos and they've got lines. And so it's just really, really cool. So we're really proud of them. And before we walked out here, I said to them, you know, none of us are perfect, but together doing this play, they are perfect. And this story is, I think for a lot of us, is just a favorite story. And I think if you're ever thinking about what it means to follow Jesus, this story will get you almost all the way there. So I'm so glad that you can be here and let these kids teach us about belonging and about being changed by the love of God and about the goodness of community. So can we pray for just a second together? God, we give you thanks and praise that you are good and that you give us a life that's full of trying new things and making new friends and telling amazing stories. And God, I pray that you would just pour your spirit out on these children and just let them know how fearfully and wonderfully made they are, how important their voice is, and what a beautiful life that you have for each one of them. God, we give you thanks and praise in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let's give them a hand and we will start the show.
The Hermans were absolutely the worst kids in the history of the world. They lied and stole and smoked cigars and talked dirty and hit little kids and cussed their teachers and set fire to Fred Shoemaker's old broken down tool house.
It was a terrific fire. 2 engines and 2 police cars and all the volunteer firemen and 5 dozen donuts sent up from the tasty lunch diner. The donuts were supposed to be for the firemen, but by the time they got the fire out, all the donuts were gone. The Herdmans got them. What they couldn't eat, they stuffed in their pockets and down the front of their shirts.
The fire chief gave all us kids a talk about playing with matches. Turns out, though the neighbors had been pestering Mr. Shoemaker to do something about the old tool house because it was about to fall down anyways, so they said the fire was a blessing in disguise.
Our father said that it was the only good thing the Hermans ever did, and if they known it was a good thing, they wouldn't have done it at all. I was always in the same grade with Imogene Herdman, and what I did was stay out of her way. You couldn't do it if you were very pretty, or very ugly, or very smart, or very dumb, or anything unusual about you, like red hair or double-jointed thumbs. But if you were a medium kid like me, and you kept your mouth shut, you did okay.
As far as anyone could tell, Imogene was just like the rest of the Hermans. She never learned anything either except dirty words and secrets about everybody.
It was no good trying to get secrets on the Herdmans. Everybody already knew about the awful things they did. You couldn't even tease them about their parents or holler, "Your father's in jail," because they didn't care. Actually, they didn't know what their father was or where he was or anything about him, because when the youngest Herdman, Gladys, was 2 years old, he climbed on a railroad train and disappeared. Nobody blamed him. Mrs. Herdman worked double shifts at the shoe factory and wasn't home much, so the Herdmans pretty much looked after themselves. The big ones taught the little ones everything they knew, and the proof of that was that the youngest Herdman of all was Gladys, the youngest.
We figured they head straight for hell, by way of the state penitentiary, until they got themselves mixed up with the church and my mother and our Christmas pageant.
When Miss Helen Armstrong fell and broke her leg, my mother was put in charge of the Christmas pageant. Our Christmas pageant isn't what you call four-star entertainment. Miss Armstrong breaking her leg wasn't the only exciting thing that ever happened to it.
The script is standard. The inn, the stable, the shepherds, the star, and so are the costumes. And so is the casting. Primary kids are angels, intermediate kids are shepherds, and big boys are wise men. Elmer Hopkins, the minister's son, has been Joseph for as long as I can remember. And my friend Alice Winkin is Mary because she's so smart, so neat, and most of all, so holy looking.
All the rest of us are the angel choir, lined up according to height because nobody can sing parts.
But this year was different. My brother Charlie had told the Herdmans that there would be cake at the rehearsals, and suddenly they all wanted to be in the Christmas pageant.
At the first meeting, our mother started by asking volunteers.
I know that many of you would like to be Mary in our pageant, but of course we can only have one Mary. So I'll ask for volunteers, and then we'll all decide together which girl should get the part.
That was pretty safe to say, since the only person who ever raised her hand was Alice Windokin. But Alice just sat there, chewing on a piece of her hair and looking down at the floor. And the only person who raised her hand this time was Imogene Herdman.
Did you have a question, Imogene?
No, I want to be Mary, and Ralph wants to be Joseph.
Yeah.
Mother just stared at them. She couldn't believe this. What she didn't know was that Imogene had bullied Alice into letting her be Mary.
And Elmer Hopkins was relieved. He didn't have to be Joseph again. Last year, he tried to pay Grady Baker 50 cents to be Joseph, but he wouldn't do it.
Nobody volunteered to be Wiseman either, except Leroy, Claudia, and Ollie Herdman. So there my mother was, stuck with the Christmas pageant full of Herdmans in the main roles. And then the flower committee took a pot of geranium to Miss Armstrong and told her what was going on. She nearly fell out of the bed, traction bows and all.
Where did they come from? Who let them in? Imogene Herdman? What kind of child is that to be Mary of the mother of Jesus? Where was Reverend Hopkins? I'd like to know. He was what? Visiting shut-ins? Well, I'm shut-in and he wasn't visiting me. Well, I mean, some people are saying it isn't fair for a whole family who doesn't even go to our church to barge in and take over the pageant. Well, somebody better lock up the Women's Society Silver Surface is all I have to say. One thing is for sure, if I'd been up and around, this whole fiasco would have never happened.
Where did they come from? Who let them in? Why was I not informed? It's a disaster, let's not pretend. Everyone be warned. Lock up the silver, put up the matches, hide the cash, batten the hatches. Christmas play should not be scary. Who let them into the sanctuary? Where did they come from? Who let the Herdmans in? How did this happen? Who dropped the ball? This is not how it goes. These are the worst children of all, which everybody knows. Lock up the silver, put up the matches, hide the cash, batten the hatches. Christmas play should not be scary. Who let them into the sanctuary? Where did they come from? Who let the Herdmans in? How can these people think that they could be part of a Christmas play? The Christmas story, as you know, is not meant for the likes or those. Lock up the silver, put up the matches, hide the cash, batten the hatches. Christmas play should not be scary. Who let them into the sanctuary? Where did they come from? Who let the Herdmans in? Where did they come from? Who let the Herdmans in?
If she'd been up and around, it wouldn't have happened. That woman, she must be surprised that the sun is still coming up every morning without her to supervise. Helen Armstrong is not the only woman alive who can run a Christmas pageant. I'd made up my mind to do the best I could under the circumstances. But now I'm going to make this the very best Christmas pageant ever, and I'm going to do it with the Herdmans too. After all, they raised their hands and nobody else did, and that's that.
So Mother... So Mother called for the first rehearsal. Everybody shut up right away. For fear of missing something awful the hermits might do. Leroy had already knuckled Elmer behind the ear, and one little girl yelled as Gladys went by. Even so, right away, Mother ran into trouble.
Who are the shepherds? Where did they come from?
What was the inn? What's an inn?
It's like a motel where people go to spend the night.
What people? Jesus?
Oh, honestly, Jesus wasn't even born yet. Mary and Joseph went there?
Why?
What happened first? Begin at the beginning. The thing was, the Hermans didn't know anything about the Christmas story. They knew that Christmas was Jesus' birthday, but everything else was news to them. The shepherds, the wise men, the star, the stable, the crowded inn.
So Mother said you better begin by reading the story from the Bible. This was a pain in the neck for most of us, because we already knew the whole thing, backward and forward.
Joseph and Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child.
Pregnant!
I don't think it's very nice to say Mary is pregnant.
But she was.
I'm not supposed to talk about people being pregnant. I'd better tell my mother.
Tell her what?
That your mother's talking about things like that in church.
I'm pretty sure she would too, because she still wanted to be Mary. But there's really nothing I could do about it but pinch Alice, which I did, and she yelled. His mother told the story. One of the herdmen would yell, "What's that?" whenever they didn't understand something.
You mean there wasn't any room in the inn? Not even for Jesus?
Well now, after all, nobody knew the baby was going to turn out to be Jesus.
You said Mary knew. Why didn't she tell him?
I would have told them. Boy, I would have told them. What's wrong with Joseph? Why didn't he tell them? Her pregnant and everything.
Or is that they laid the baby in, the manger? Is that like a bed? Why would they have a bed in the barn?
That's just the point. They didn't have a bed in the barn, so Mary and Joseph had to use whatever there was. What would you do if you had a new baby and no bed to put the baby in?
We put Gladys in a dresser drawer.
Well, there you are. You didn't have a bed for Gladys, so you had to use something else. A manger is a large feeding box for animals.
What were the wadded up clothes?
The what?
You read it. She wrapped him up in wadded up clothes.
Swaddling clothes. Long ago, people used to wrap their babies very tightly in big pieces of material so they couldn't move around. It made the babies feel cozy and comfortable.
Why didn't Mary get to name the baby?
I named him.
Joseph didn't name the baby either. God sent an angel to tell Mary what his name should be.
What? I would have named him Bill. What did the angel do? Just say it and go up. Just walk up and say, name him Jesus.
Mother was in a hurry to finish, so she said,
Yes.
But then Alice Winkleton had to open her big mouth.
I know what the angel said. She said his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
My God, he'd never gotten out of first grade if he had to write all that. And so it went, Mother telling the story and explaining it to the Hermans. They were really interested in Herod. When Mother said that Herod planned to put the baby Jesus to death, Imogene exclaimed, my God, he just got born already and they're out to kill him.
I figured they were interested in Herod because they liked him. He was so mean, he could have been their ancestors, Herod Herman. But I was wrong. They wanted somebody to be Herod, so they couldn't be up on him. I couldn't understand the Hermans.
You would have thought the Christmas story came right out of a Law and Order rerun. They got so involved in it. Wanted a bloody end to Harold, worried about Mary having her baby in a barn. and call the wise men a bunch of dirty spies.
We can think of better ways to do this. You didn't need to be born on the floor. How about a house in Massachusetts with servants and a butler at the door? And perhaps his name was fine for that point in time, but Bill or Bob is easier to say. And it seems they could have found a warmer place in town if they had not gone looking Christmas Day. We know the story came from God, but we still think it's rather odd. We would have made it better. We can think of better gifts to carry. The wise men should have brought other things. Perfume might be fine when you get married, but Jesus could have used some teeny rings. And his clothes should have come from Dillard's or Nordstrom, with baby shoes to cover tiny feet. And when Harry got upset, what if they had left and brought the baby Jesus to sleep? We know the story came from God, but we still think it's rather odd. We would have made it better. We know the story came from God, but we still think it's rather odd. We would have made it better.
During the second rehearsal, Miss McCarthy called the fire department because she smelled smoke in the women's washroom. It just turned out to be Imogen smoking cigars during a break in the rehearsal. But while everyone was milling about on the street, the applesauce cake that the ladies on the potluck committee had been making burnt up. When Reverend Hopkins heard about the fire, he asked Mother if we should call the whole thing off. He said the whole church was in uproar, and he didn't think anyone would come to see the pageant. But he was wrong. Everybody came to see what the Hermans would do.
Lock up the silver, put up the matches, hide the cash, fatten the hatches. Christmas plays should not be scary. Who let them into the sanctuary? Where did they come from? Who let the Herdmans in? Where did they come from? Who let the Herdmans in?
The night of the pageant, there was a huge big mess all over the place. Baby angels getting poked in the eye by other baby angels' wings, and grump shepherds tripping over their costume. But everything settled down at 7:30. Then the pageant began.
When we were finished singing the old town of Bethlehem, Ralph and Imogen were here. Only for once they didn't come through the door, pushing and shoving each other out of the way. They just stood there for a minute, as if they weren't sure they were in the right place. Because of the spotlight, I guess. of this church being full of people.
They look like the people you see on the 6 o'clock news. Refugees in some strange, ugly place with all their boxes and sacks around them. It suddenly occurred to me that this was just the way it must have been for the real Holy Family, stuck away in a barn by people who didn't care what happened to them. They could have been very neat and tidy either, but more like this Mary and Joseph.
I don't think it's very nice to burp the baby Jesus if he had colic. Do you suppose he could have had colic?
I don't know. But anyway, next Tim Glass from behind the angel choir, pushing people out of the way and stepping on everyone's feet. Since Gladys was the only one in the pageant who had anything to say, she made most of it up.
Then the wise men came in.
What have they got?
I don't know, but whatever it is, it's heavy. Leroy almost dropped it.
I knew this would happen. I bet it's something awful, like a burnt offering.
Well, they did burn things, but they hadn't burned this yet. It was a ham, and right away I knew where it came from. My father was on the church charitable works committee. They gave away food baskets at Christmas, and this was the Herdman's food basket ham.
I bet they stole that.
The Hermans had never before in their lives given anything away except lumps on the head, so you had to be impressed. When it's time for the wise men to leave, the Hermits forgot or didn't want to do something because they didn't leave. They just sat there and there wasn't anything anyone could do about it.
They're ruining the whole thing.
As a matter of fact, it made perfect sense for the wise men to sit down and rest. They had come a long way for ruining the whole thing. It seemed to me that the Herdmans had improved it a lot just by doing what comes naturally. Like burping the baby, for instance, or thinking a ham would make a better present than a bunch of perfumed oil.
I almost wish for the pageant to go on with the Hermans in church to see what else they would do different. Maybe the wise men would tell Mary about their problems with Herod, and she would tell them to go back and lie their heads off. Or Joseph might go with them and get rid of Herod once and for all.
I was so busy planning new ways to save the baby Jesus that I didn't notice Imogene at first. When I did, I almost dropped my hymn book on a baby angel. Imogene Herman was crying. In the candlelight, her face was all shiny with tears, and she didn't even bother to wipe them away. She just sat there, awful old Imogene, in her crookedy veil, crying and crying and crying. I guess Christmas just came over her all at once, just like a case of chills and fever.
I've been looking all my life for something I can't find, something to make sense of who I am.
Sometimes in the dark of night, I look up for a sign. Now I think I just might understand. But maybe I'm crazy for thinking there's something about this bird. But maybe this baby really might
Christmas pageant we ever had. Everybody said so, but nobody seemed to know why.
When it was over, people stood around the lobby of the church talking about it. There was something special. They couldn't put their finger on what.
Now, whenever I think of the Christmas story, Mary is always going to look a lot like Imogene Herman, sort of nervous and bewildered, but ready to clobber anyone who lays a hand on her baby.
And the wise men are always going to be Leroy and his brothers bearing ham.
When we came out of the church that night, it was cold and clear with crunchy snow underfoot and bright, bright stars overhead. And I thought about the angel of the Lord, Gladys, with her skinny legs and her dirty sneakers sticking out from under her robe, yelling at all of us everywhere.
Hey, I tell you, a child is born!
And maybe I'm crazy for thinking there is something about this bird. But maybe this baby really might be God come to earth.
Thank you all so much for coming out, and we have a tiny little reception set up in the hallway out there, so we hope that you will stay and hug your kids and celebrate their big moment. Thank you all so much.